everyone. Welcome back to Marketing 100. I'm Kayle, your salon and spa business bestie, and I'm joined today, as always, by my good friend and the founder of the salon business, John Halberg. And yet again, we've got a guest, an amazing guest, somebody we've had on the show a couple times now, but we just won't let them go because she has incredible things to tell us. First about pricing, and even further here about profit. Nina Tulio, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you. I feel like I moved in. Here.
Yeah. We're not going to let you go.
Yeah. Nina, again, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, here on Marketing 100, our goal is to bring 100 snackable, tactical marketing tips for salon and spa owners out there. We've talked a lot about pricing, but today I have it on good authority. You're talking about something a little bit different, but still related. What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about profit today, and I want people to understand that sales are important, and it is important to know what you bring in, but it's also very important to keep that money. We're going to dive into it with profit.
I love it. Yeah, I think the revenue versus profit thing is crucial. I think sometimes it's easy to look at the revenue and be like, great, and not consider the profit as deeply. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
It's easy to get excited when you see sales coming through the door. We should celebrate that, right? But at the end of the day, what is left in your bank account? I get a lot of DMs from people saying, I'm making so much money, but I literally don't have any money left. What am I doing wrong? And there's a lot of things that we have to look into and things that we need to pay attention to. I want to make it simple today because sometimes this may be new for people that are joining us today, and it can be very overwhelming. But looking at a profit and loss statement every single month is imperative. And that way, you know what's coming in sales and you can celebrate. You can see what's going out, and then you can look at net profit and understand that you're paying tax on that money. And when it comes to your profit margin, and we're looking at different categories like rent, payroll, insurance, we have variable cost, fixed cost. And I'm going to speak specific to the commission salon owner because it's different. When I'm talking to the commission salon owner, there's a different budget sheet than when I'm talking to an independent artist. They're two completely different budget sheets, and they run off of two completely different profit margins. If we're talking to a commission salon owner, one of the biggest areas that we have to pay attention to is payroll. Because your payroll is going to be the biggest expense that you have, and it is a variable expense. Fixed costs will stay the same. They never fluctuate. So fixed costs would be rent, your insurance, your business insurance. It doesn't change with the income that's coming in the door. Your variable expenses will fluctuate every single month, and the percentage will change, of course, based on revenue that's coming in the door. So payroll is a variable expense. Your back bar, that's a variable expense. That's another area of focus. And when we think about one of the biggest expenses for a commission salon owner, that payroll eats up so much of that profit. And if we're not paying attention, boom, before you know it, your payroll could be over 50%, which is what we're trying to avoid. For my commission salon owners, when we're looking at your payroll percentage, we like it to be less than 50% of your total revenue every single month. So if you're bringing in $20,000 a month in total revenue, we want your payroll to be less than $10,000 to keep you under that 50%. The way that I teach this, each marker has a percentage that you're allotted. The insurance has a percentage that's allotted. Your rent has a percentage. Your back bar supplies, everything has a percentage in order for you to make a 20% profit. Now that's what I coach and teach to is a 20% profit. If you're paying yourself on payroll, then you may be looking at a 10 to 15% net profit. It just depends on how much you're paying yourself. But payroll is one of those things that could get out of control quite quickly. And if we aren't paying attention to commission percentages, if we're not paying attention to our support staff and how many hours they're working, they're vital. We need them. We love them, but they're not bringing in revenue per se for the business. We have to make sure that we keep all of this very, very balanced.
That makes total sense. I feel like the 20% marker, it's a good place to shoot for. Like in general, a good place to shoot for. I also I'm not trying to call out salon owners out there, but I feel like this is something that a lot of salon owners maybe are kind of winging instead of actually setting like hard markers for this kind of thing and saying like, we need to be here and we need to adjust X, Y, and Z. So I love this focus on profit over revenue. I feel like revenue is, people tend to look at the, sort of the top line revenue instead of the bottom line profit at the end of the day, and then end up in that same situation that you talked about where you have salon owners who are like, I'm making so much money, but it's, it's all going somewhere. I've got a leaky bucket yet again. I think we touched on this an episode or two ago, where it's like, if you're kind of just like going on vibes in terms of what you're charging and what your expenditures are, like, you're going to end up in a position where you might be screwing yourself over because you're not keeping a close eye on these very, very important, crucial metrics for any business.
When we talk about pricing, we talk about emotion and how we're kind of steered by emotion and therefore not maybe daring to take pricing. Could it be that we're steered by emotion here too? Like, revenue is fun. Like when we just talked about the revenue and cost, right? That's kind of fun. It's exciting. You're seeing the money. We're making a lot of money, and it's like, it's exciting. Whereas like going in, looking at cost is kind of that,
Yeah, it's great to look at sales coming in, but then you have to pay for shit. You know what I mean? To keep your doors open, and you have to find a love for both.
And also like on the profit. So you mentioned 20%. That's kind of like where you coach to get to or to be at. If we go above, can that be a problem? Or is it like just the more margin we have, the better? Or like...
That's a trick question. So here's the thing. Of course, we want to make more money, right? That's a tricky one because we want to show our profit. We want, and I have owners sometimes that do 23, 26% profit. However, you pay tax on your net profit. So this is why I advise always having a CPA that understands your business. And this is where I went wrong early on in my business. I didn't have a CPA that knew our business or was really supportive of me. And you have to find a CPA that's going to guide you and say, okay, where do we want to be in terms of profit margin for you every single year? It's November and you're here. So do we need to invest more back into the business? What does that percentage of investment look like back into the business? Where do we want to land? Because you know that you're paying tax on this money. That is a CPA conversation. So we shoot for the 20, but there are some owners that are like, hey, I'd rather lean more toward 15 and keep reinvesting back into my business. And I always say, lean into your CPA, make sure you're having those conversations because I'm not a CPA, and make sure that they are guiding you into doing what is best for the business long term. And there is a difference between having an accountant, someone who's just doing your taxes, as opposed to having a CPA that actually can guide you and have power of attorney to talk to the IRS for you if need be. Again, speaking from experience, and making sure that someone is going to look at your long-term financial plan and looking at it per year to say, okay, here's where we are. Here's where you want to be. These are the steps that we need to take to get you there. Look for someone who understands the beauty industry. The woman that I've been working with, her name is Michelle Cook, and you can find her on Instagram at Small Business CPA. She's amazing. She is a former hairstylist, and she only works with beauty industry professionals, and she is a wealth of knowledge. So she's a good resource to have as well.
Yeah, and having someone from the industry, because I think also there is, like, I think in several areas of our business, when there are areas where we kind of we don't like to deal with them, again, like coming back to that emotion piece, it's kind of easy to think like, oh, I'm just going to take, if it's marketing, I'm just going to take this marketing person in and I'm just going to give them a budget and they'll figure it out, right? Or my finances doesn't work, I'm just going to get this accountant or CPA and just put it on them. They'll have to figure it out, right? Like, we're just trying to like escape from the situation because we don't actually want to look at the numbers and actually not get into it. And I think that can be a danger too, right? So I think there's a difference between like, what does a CPA do? What does the accountant do? And what is also like actually business understanding that you need to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, John, I think it's important to learn from those people. So, we're not going to hire them and then just like run away. If you hire a CPA, sit with them, ask questions. I can tell you just from my own experience, when I hired the second CPA that I had that really turned my business around, she in the first year filed me as an S Corp and saved me over $5,000 in taxes in that 1 year. But I would go to her office and I would ask her questions. And there were a lot of times where I felt like silly because I just didn't know the things. And I'm like, I should know this. And she's like, why should you know this? You're not a CPA. You're not an accountant. Like this should not even be on your radar, right? But you should have the basic knowledge, which is why you're asking me the questions. So they're the expert, but you still have the knowledge and the wherewithal to know what's going on still within your own business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point.
We've covered some elements of it. We talked about, some of your fixed costs every month, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there are other elements we probably haven't touched on yet. So what else should business owners be aware of when it comes to focusing on their profit margins and ensuring that they're like on top of it every month?
So a fixed cost that is incredibly crucial in this whole equation is the rent, your rent percentage. And because rent is a fixed cost, The only way that the rent percentage goes down is if the volume of the business goes up. There are a lot of people who get into business with a high rent. And I'm just going to give you an example. So back to my commission salon owners, we're looking at a rent percentage for you based on total revenue every single month to be between 8 and 10%. So 8 and 10% of your total revenue should be your rent percentage. I immediately, when I start working with someone and I have these budget calculators, I immediately go to the rent percentage because that's going to tell me a lot about their business and in terms of their revenue. There are some rent percentages I see 15, 20, 22, 25, 30%. It's really hard to sustain a business when 30% of your revenue is going out for rent. And if you are booked and busy and let's say you have stylists there that are booked and busy, if you guys can't take on any more people, you're capping at that 30% rent percentage. The only way to decrease that is to increase your total revenue. And don't get into these spaces that are so high in rent that you can't afford to take care of them if you were to be alone for a certain amount of time. I think that you should be able to run your business and cover your expenses, just the bare minimum of expenses to keep your doors open. You don't want to always have to rely on stylists to make sure that they're covering the expenses to keep the doors open just in case something were to happen. So rent is something that we always have to keep our eye on, and volume is a big driver of that percentage.
So payroll, rent, the two big ones, right? Is there anything else?
I probably won't go too much into detail, but the top three are payroll, rent, and back bar supplies. Those are the top three for commission salon owners for sure. But even if you're independent, you may not have payroll, but your back bar and rent, they're going to fall in the top two. So those are the three that we always have to have our pulse on because they will drain your profit the fastest and the most. And so keeping a pulse on those through keeping an eye on that profit and loss report every single month can really, really help you bleeding out cash and of course, bleeding through your profit margin every single month.
Love that. And do you have like a detailed list somewhere for someone watching this who want to know more about this? Do you have a resource like that somewhere?
So if they go to ninatulio.com, on my homepage, I have the pricing upgrade, which we talked about, the guide for the price increases. I have profit calculators, which you can dive into, and I have free pricing class and guide. You can calculate your profit on these calculators within a couple minutes. So I think it's important to fall in love with your numbers. I know it's not fun and all the sexy shit that we're excited about in business, but it is so incredibly important for you to create financial stability and freedom for yourself or your future. We can't continue to just live for the now. We really, really have to look ahead and we have to look forward.
Absolutely. Nina, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for dropping some knowledge bombs on us. If you got anything new, anything insightful out of this video, go ahead and drop a like. There's a little thumbs up down there. You can do that. If you want to hear more snackable tactical marketing tips like these, get subscribed. There's a little bell down there. You can hit that, whatever you want to do. And if you are listening to us on your podcast platform of choice, first of all, thank you. But second of all, you are missing out on some very, very attractive people on the screen right now whose very, very cute faces you are going to want to see. So go check us out on YouTube if you want to see those faces. Also, if you want to learn more about how you can level up your payroll and keep it in check, check out our salon and spa software of choice. We've got a special deal in the description below. You can check out Mangomint, our salon and spa software of choice for 2025. Check it out for free. You get a little bit of extra time to try it out on us. You can learn all about how you can level up your payroll down there. Check out that link. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Marketing 100. Thank you, Nina, for joining us yet again. We're going to try and get her back again because there's even more that we want to talk about, so stay tuned for that. I'm Kayle, your salon and spa business bestie, and we'll see you in the next one.